I'm doing Facebook Live of the Olney High School a cappella choir reunion, and we're at the Philadelphia First Church of the Brethren, 8707 Cheltenham Avenue, Winmore, Pennsylvania, and assembled are people who had been in the Olney High School a cappella choir over the decades, I guess starting the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and on up, who had been under Mr. Nietzsche in the choir. And we just had a great buffet luncheon. We're going to have a program later where we're going to be doing some singing. And I graduated June '58. There's a few women here that were with me at the time. Some men who had been here over the years. Emma, we're doing Facebook Live on the Olney High School a cappella choir. You wanted to say something? Okay. I'm doing Facebook Live for those of us who are here. I'm doing Facebook Live. This is Facebook Live. I'm doing Facebook Live. This is Facebook Live. You're on Facebook.
I realized that I wasn't lying. I actually came to a choir function. You're not at a bar or something?
I'm doing Facebook Live. You're live on Facebook. Mark, I'm doing Facebook Live on the Olney High School a cappella site. Facebook Live. Good to have you here. I'm doing Facebook Live. You're live on Facebook. Can you tell us what you're looking at?
Yes, you do? Okay, great. Great. And here's Peggy. I want to give this to her. But this one goes to Don. He's in this one. But you are in... You're in some too. Where did I see? Right here is you. Yeah. Yeah. Here.
Can we have your attention, please?
I have it. You.
I'm gonna get my phone because I have it.
coming. Okay, no, I'm Debbie Jasper, volunteer here. I've spoken to many of you on the phone, and it's just so wonderful to see everyone here today. I just want to let you know what the program is now for the rest of the afternoon. Joe Nuss is going to join us in a minute, and he has some remarks. We're going to allow some time for memories. Everyone has a story to share, something funny about Mr. Mitchie, something sweet, a memory to share. This will be the time to do it. And okay. And then after that, I hope that you're all eating dessert, because there's plenty of dessert. Thank you all for bringing it. And then after that, we will adjourn to the sanctuary, where we will sing. We will take a break at some point and have more dessert, or talk and visit, and then we will continue singing. We have the space till 4:30, so we have lots of time. All right, I would like to introduce Joe Nuss, who's coming right back. He's from the class of 1966.
Getting there.
Okay, well, I've never used a microphone before. First time today with me. I want to share what Debbie just mentioned and thank everybody for coming. I know there's a lot of people that came from great distances just to be here with us. I told Debbie several months ago that for me, personally, this is a dream come true. We wanted this for years and years. It happened. And before I go any further, let's thank Debbie. Ricky Frank. Thank you. Can't believe it. Anyway, I'm Joe Nuss. I was in the class of 1966. Now, let me clarify, this was the August class. Apparently, the staff of the high school got together in June and decided, let's pick 25 special kids from that class and send them to summer school. Joe needed to know more about Shakespeare, and boy, has that come in handy over here.
Yes. Miss Brown, Miss Brown.
I first got my desire to be a choir member when the choir came to sing at our church prior to 1962, Bickley Methodist. And then I really got hooked when my next door neighbor got married, and Mr. Mitchie, and I don't know whether it was some of the choir members.
Yes,
or
it
all.
was. There was a lot of choir members at the wedding. Yeah.
Yep.
And Mitchie.
Yep. And I went out of my way to meet Mr. Mitchie, and it wasn't too long after that I got out of elementary school, Lowell Elementary, 1962, and I got a little autograph book from 8th grade, which was about the size of a cell phone. And the music director wrote in there, Mr. Lamont. Mr. Lamont wrote in there, Joe, please add your voice to the Albany High School choir. Okay, so I did that. And thinking I was doing the right thing, it wasn't too long after that, but I joined the choir, and we were rehearsing on a Friday afternoon with the full choir. And somebody in our section was not singing on key. And she had everybody in our section sing that one part. And on my turn, when I finished, Mr. Mitchie said, Joe, you sing like a frog. So I crawled under my chair almost, but at least I didn't do what somebody else did when Mr. Mitchie said that he sang like a frog. Wayne West, what did you do?
I said I didn't know frogs could sing. From the choir, I don't know how long.
What happened then, Wayne? What happened then?
I got suspended out from the choir. It felt like an eternity. I wanted to come back. It was only my sister who persuaded him.
Sure. Anyway, before we go any further, with so many people here, it's been hard to meet everybody, so I was going to ask, and I always hate to do this, but I'm going to ask everybody that's here that was in the choir to let us know who you are, what year you graduated, and what song you sang at your senior luncheon. You don't have to sing it, just tell us what song. I don't remember, doesn't get it.
Okay, so what did I say? You were singing for God So Loved the World. And I was singing it in the apartment. For some reason. You didn't go.
Before I tell you that, I'm going to tell you a story about Mr. Ritchie. We were doing Down in the Valley, okay? And my friend Marvin Davis, who is not with us any longer, he was the male lead, and I can't remember who the girl was. And we were doing a dress rehearsal, and Mr. Ritchie was down there watching what was going on, and they're singing and they're dancing. All of a sudden, he says, stop the music. He comes up on the stage. He says, you people are entirely too close. He got his ruler out. 6 inches! 6 inches! And I joined Yeah, he did. In the Abington Choral Club I joined, and I found a lot of people who sing in that club sang with Mr. Ritchie, and I did not know that at one time he also directed that choir too, but I don't know for how long. 5 years?
3 years.
3 years, and then Frank Kuykendall took over. But choir has always been an important part of life. Is anybody else here from 1958? Put your hand up. I thought so. Nobody. Yeah, that's it. Not too many people. I have to get on the list. Oh, wait, when the backup was it McAllister? Yeah. From Oklahoma, people will say we're in love.
I played the piano.
Yep.
Oh, very nice. All right, who's next? They have to get up and holler.
I can holler from here.
Yeah.
January '59, and I think I'm the only one that's here from my class, and I sang for All We Know We'll Never Meet Again. I think every soprano will sing.
I'll do it.
Oh, Emma Hall. Emma Hall Shovel.
Mark Moss, January 61, and not only am I your volunteer conductor, but I belong to the choir, 9A, 10A. And I left, I love the music. It got in the way of my social life. and as beloved as I know he is and was, Mr. Ritchie creeped me out. And
Really?
and anybody who wants to see it can see it, in my January 61 Trojan, he wrote, to the avoiding one, Ted Ritchie.
To say the least. Really? Do you remember going to Chief and Officer dinner? Yes, that was horrible.
Philippines, class of February 43.
Do you remember what you did with
I didn't take this, I'll say something, but I can't do both.
Okay. Let me, I have one thing.
No, you put 3 parts in that music bench. The piano. Oh my
One day,
God.
the band
We were
was
there.
rehearsing
Yes.
in the auditorium, and they were going to play the closing march. And Mr. Ritchie was late. So I tuned the band up. I had the little tuning bar, and I tuned the band up, and I started rehearsing the march. I didn't know it. Who was waiting? Mr. Ritchie was standing in the back listening to me. Well, finally he came down and took over. And when it came time for the band to play the closing march, he went and handed me the baton. Whoa!
I don't think I need this either. Georgie Bolton, January of '62. I I brought a copy of a birthday card Mr. Ritchie sent me, and I thought I'd like to read that to everybody. Oh, wow. I graduated in '62. This is from 1978. Mr. Ritchie sent me a birthday card. I don't know. I must have been around. My dear George, your Christmas card was not only keenly appreciated, but most informative. Thank you for it very much indeed. Now you go and have a happy birthday today. I made a note of your new address and shall use it whenever the reunion in 1982 is announced. Was there one in 1982?
Yes. German Hungarians.
Okay. Your work, your theater activities, church choir, etc. seem to indicate you are busy and very happy. Good! Thank you for taking the time to write so fully. A number of choir kids did that, and I am delighted. Fondly, Theodore Ritchie.
My name is Dan Robbins. I graduated June '58. One thing I wanted to say was that I think Mr. Ritchie had a great impact on many of us here for our future careers and the rest of our lives. That's what brings us all together today. I do want to mention that he was a very caring and sensitive person. And during, I would say, the last month before I graduated, I was very despondent. I was depressed over the fact that I didn't know if I was going to graduate on time. I was struggling with one of my courses, which was physics. If I had only put in as much time to my academic work as I did for nearly 8 hours a week practicing my part and the choir, it would have been a much better fit. However, he did come up to me. He recognized that I was depressed at the time and said, "What's the matter?" So I said, "I don't know if I'm going to graduate on time. I don't know if I'm going to pass physics." Well, anyway, less than a week later, he came up to me, looked at my year, and he said, "You passed physics." That took such a weight off me that you couldn't imagine. And during my senior banquet, I sang "I Believe" from Frankie Lane, I think, sang that. And Marvin Davis, who's not here today, he played guitar. One other thing that I want to add was I had a couple of experiences that relate to the choir. It's known as apperception, where your perceptions are based on things that have happened during your life. For example, when I went to the meeting house memorial service for Mr. Ritchie, and we all sang heterogeneously, "The Lord bless you and keep you," it was like I could see him conducting, and the tears were just running down my face. So that's an apperceptive experience. Also, recently I became a Freemason in Pennsylvania, and I'm now a Shriner. By the way, I have Shriner LuLu tickets. It goes through tomorrow if anybody wants to take it. But anyway, when I went through the ritual less than 2 years ago to come and enter the Permanent Nation, and I won't tell you too much about it, I'm not allowed to, but when they removed the blindfold, and the escort whispered in my ear, I was told, "What do you see?" And I was told to say, "Light." And I had an amazing experience at that time. And for those of you who remember a song that we're not doing today, unfortunately, called "Creation." Yes. And I do remember my tenor part just came into my head. It was something like, I'll probably sing off key if I sing it. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Sorry? Light, and there was light. Something like that. Yeah. And I wanted to sing that there, but I figured if I did, they would throw me out. That's all I would say.
All right, class 66. Wayne West.
Yes. Where are you at?
What did
You
you
didn't go
say
to
at
school in the
the
Midwest?
senior lunch?
Thank you, that was great.
Taking a test one night, and the teacher was walking up and down the aisle, and she said, all right, stop right where you're
You're
at.
traveling there too.
What?
You're traveling there.
Yeah.
We saw you.
You're Mason?
Yeah.
All right.
Been there 53 years.
Ricky Frank, I know he doesn't know. What did you say?
Rick Frank, some Kennedy.
Some Trinity.
So,
Hey, Debbie. Diane.
68. I love you once in silence from Camelot.
let's find out who that is.
I remember
Who's that? Diane who?
Her sister was in the choir. Yeah, right. Wow. Mary Ann.
But she was different years, isn't she? No. They're not twins, are they? Joanne and Joanne?
That's her Kelly. Oh, Kelly.
Actually, seven.
It was a very good year.
And she was in
I was in. I just, and all of you have sung solos and you're not used to singing solos. Like Ricky Frank used to get the solos, I didn't get picked. I did get a chance to sing a solo, but I was a mess. It was great.
I can't tell. Can I walk by?
Can I say something? My name's Carol Byer, Carol Lowry. I graduated June 54th. And there aren't many of us. Some of us that old are here.
Anybody else from 54?
He beat us at 43, yeah. June 54. What I wanted to tell you was when I was in the choir, I have a low voice, I'm an alto. Peggy remembers, Peggy Hope, I was a second alto. They didn't have enough first tenors. So, Mr. Nitchie made me a tenor. And I was on occasion late for getting to zero period in the morning. So I got there late one day, and he made me stand up and sing All Breathing Life by myself.
Oh my God, I remember that. We sang that.
I love the band, but he could be really and I was in everything. I was in volleyball, basketball, softball. I was in the choir. But when it came to basketball, Miss McPeak insisted.
God, she must be a good jerk too. I think she's
Mr. Nitchie also expected you to be there. So there were a couple of times he would not let me be in the choir picture. Here I am with my gown coming up to the front steps, and he says, Miss Byer, over there. But anyhow, what I wanted to read to you, did everybody go to his memorial?
Yes. No.
Well, whatever. It was very poignant. This is a letter I got from, it was probably Peggy Harris. I'll read you only part of it. It says he would have been 77 years old on September 23rd, but he remains something else. It wasn't just that he led an active life, so much so that the old Beetle had to be traded in last year for a new rabbit. And that he did more than his share wherever he was involved. But it was his attitude. He remained in love with this world and this country. Sure, he lamented the failures of our society, especially of the schools, and he agonized over afflictions of others. But he kept his faith. He believed in a good God, and he believed in goodness of people. No cynicism, no defeatism, no harking back to the good old days. I won't read the rest of it. I also have with me the copy of that memorial.
Yes.
It's in our program. It's in the program.
It'll break your heart.
It's in the program.
It is in the program. Well, I have the whole law.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, good. Anyhow, anybody else 54 with me, these people?
I'm 54.
54?
I do remember that he rode his bicycle to work during World War II.
My mother remembers him in white flannel trousers, riding his bike. By our house. Thank you.
Okay, my banquet I sang, if I could tell you, by Lucy Isabel Firestone.
I know what I sang. I told every little star. And Mrs. Hare played for me. And I got up and announced that I was singing I Told Every Little Star. And that Mrs. Care was my accompaniment. I couldn't say the word accompaniment. So I said Mrs. Care will play for me. Now I remember my song and I could sing it, but I'm not going to. 1960.
Wayne Parker.
Yes.
Hello.
June 65. Yay! We had a little protest, about 5 of us. We did not attend the banquet. I will tell you what, I will tell you.
It was the 60s, they started with that damn protesting.
I will tell you this though. One time, he asked me, like he says, stand up and sing, and I couldn't reach the notes. He goes, you're a bass now. And I'm there. It's my senior year, I know everything tenor. He says, you're a bass now. Well, I said, I wasn't going to be a bass, so I sat in the tenor for 3 weeks. When he called attendance, he just skipped over me. So finally, I sat in the bass section. He goes, oh, Mr. Parker, where have you been for the last So I did immediately after that go slide into being a second tenor. But yeah, that's my story.
After that, I hate to admit it, but I'm a Parker. My name is Scott Parker, and I graduated in '72. Anybody from '72? So it probably makes me the baby in the room. Mr. Nitchie retired in 1970 while I was in my sophomore year. He was preceded by a young lady by the name of Mary Woodsman, who changed names for marriages after that. However, the tradition of your graduation, I didn't have the pleasure of doing or a song to sing. However, during the last year of his tenure, I was the lead role in a show called Oliver. We played for 3 nights as they did. He tutored me and taught for every song.
Cool. Okay. Yes, sir.
Al Bradley, class of 47.
Really?
I don't know if there was. I sang a lead in Pirates of Penzance, Samuel. Last time I ever sang a solo. So I sang that for the graduation. We had a ball. We had a lot of marriages within the choir. I brought along a picture of the Sunday Consort, which is a group of 30 of us that sang up to 1999 to 2000 in nursing homes on Sundays. And in that picture, on the head, we had 5 marriages. It was all choir. In those days, the marriages stayed.
Sheila Thompson, January 1965. I don't remember what I sang because I lost the words and I lost the tune, and I don't remember what it was. So he threw me out of the choir. Raise your hand if you had been thrown out of the choir. On a Sunday night, I watched the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, as did Alex Jones. When I went in the next morning, he said, "Where were you, Miss Thompson?" I said, "I was sick." He said, "No, you weren't. Miss Jones already told me." Alice had said that graduation, I don't know everybody else's graduation, but he was always saying, I quit. Because nobody, he couldn't get, they were goofing off. Everybody was, he sat me in with a bunch of girls that I didn't even know, that I'd never met before, and they were sort of like the rough girls, the rough girls, and I didn't know any of them. And by the end of, by the time we graduated, they loved me. I taught them what to do and how to sing, and I've always had a love for music, but he taught me a lot, so much. I can't make music, I never could, I lied. And I can't look at it and sort of tell where the next note's going to go. But yeah, it was a wonderful time. That was my my high school social life, and it was just a wonderful time. And I missed it so much when I left.
I protest. Wait. I never told him that. I did say I was babysitting, but I never told him.
Oh, come on, Alice, we know what happened to Pinocchio.
Thank you.
One more.
Alice isn't finished. You were ignoring me. Alice Jones, 66, Jones Davis, and I want to just say about being in the choir. Before I ever heard the choir, there was a woman, she was a teenager from my church when I was a little girl. She's here tonight, Martha Hamilton Walls. And she was in the choir. People always said she was always the soloist at church and everything. And I thought, oh, it must be so nice. And then the choir came to my elementary school, Clara Martin. And I said, oh, that's great. When I get to high school, I want to be in that choir. So I'm in high school for about a week or so, and the notice comes around, if you want to join the choir, go up to 501 after school. So I go up there after school, open the back door, and you know how imposing that room was. And I couldn't see anybody, so I'm walking around the risers, and there was somebody in the blackboard, one of the students, and he said, what do you want? And I got scared and ran out the door, all the way down and home. All the way home, I'm thinking, I'm never going to be in the choir, I'm never going to be in the choir. Well, I was assigned to Mr. Ritchie for 9th grade course. And he had us all singing Stars Like a Banner or something like that. And after I sang, he said, I want to see you after class. So I ran over to him after class and he said, would you like to be in the choir? And of course I said yes. And I always thought that was the Lord who brought me there and he put me in that choir and he knew I wanted to be there and that's what happened. And it was always been a blessing that I've been in that choir. I just absolutely. Yay!
June of '58. I had one constant in my life. Mr. She was at our wedding. I married a boy from the choir, and he gave us a milk glass fruit bowl, and it's still on my kitchen counter. Everybody got milk glass. And it's still on my kitchen counter today. And I look at it and think of him on a daily basis. And my husband would have loved to have been here today, but he's no longer with us. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sue Latella, class of 66. If you knew me in 66, I was Hildebrand, was my maiden name. I'm actually an orchestra ringer here today, who Debbie was quite gracious to allow me to come because I know so many of you who were also in the choir. And you may also remember that the orchestra was pretty much traveling around to a lot of events with you. Two stories, one about Mr. Nitchie. In 9th grade, I seem to recall we all had to take a basic music course, and that's how he kind of like screened who was in or who was out. And I can remember him going around the room and making everybody stand up and sing a few bars, and the ones who were totally tone deaf, he would say, thank you very much. I'm going to pass you if you don't sing, and please sit down. And I can remember that's kind of how he culled the herd. He got the good ones for the choir and got the other ones to pass, even though they were tone deaf. But I thought you might also enjoy what was going on in the orchestra while you guys were rehearsing in the choir. While I was in Olney, my sweetheart, my very first sweetheart, was also in the orchestra. And he and I used to sneak back to the instrument storage room after classes and make some sweet music. And unfortunately, one day, one of the cleaning staff happened to come into the instrument storage room and catch us in the hot and heavy. And we were sent to the principal's office. And I just saw my whole life and career flashing in front of me because I was kissing my boyfriend in this instrument storage room. We were sent down to Mr. Perlberg's office. Does anybody remember Mr. Perlberg? Okay, he was the conductor for a few years, and then I think our last year, Mr. Amadei took over as the conductor of the orchestra. Mr. Perlberg brought us down, and just to give you the difference between Mr. Nitsche and Mr. Perlberg, because I always thought Mr. Nitsche was kind of like a straight-laced guy, Mr. Perlberg just said to the two of us, listen guys, keep your hands off one another and stay out of the instrument storage room except to pick up and take your instruments home. And we said, okay, Mr. Perlberg, and we were set free. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Penny Schmidt from class of 68, right? 5. Different school. I originally was supposed to go to girls' high school. I had passed the admission test. I had spent a day at the school, had interviews, and then the a cappella choir came to my grade school. And I was so impressed, and I realized that that's what I really wanted to do, that I went home and told my parents I was not going to girls' high, I was going to Olney. Good for you. My father graduated from Olney in 1941, so it didn't really matter to him which way I went. It was fine with him, and my mother said, if that's all right with him, it's all right with me. So, on the first day at Olney, as a freshman, was sign up for all of the clubs and activities and so forth, so I found my way up to 501, and there was this horrendously long line down the hall behind these two closed doors. So I got into the end of the line, and I said to the person in front of me, is this the sign up for the choir? And they said, well, this is the choir line, but you have to audition. And I said, what? So I stood in line talking, and people were getting in behind me. And it was finally my turn to go in by myself. Here was this man behind a piano in this big room with all of these French door windows. Remember throwing the Christmas tree out the window? And he said, what did you come to sing? And I said, I don't know, I didn't know we had to sing. He said, well, how would I know what you sing if you don't sing? So he rolled off an introduction to Happy Birthday, and he said, do you know this song? And I said, yes. He said, well, don't sing that one then. I finally ended up singing Part of America the Beautiful, and that got me into the soprano 2 section, which I stayed for 4 years.
I have this distinct idea that I could get away without going to rehearsal. I had a job on the side that I would always go to my job and never went to rehearsal the whole time I was in high school. I think I got away with it because my present wife, Peanuts, as she calls her. I guess some of you remember Peanuts. Very, very good. I never was the person to sit up here and talk and say what I felt. But what I did, I loved Nitsche. He was very good to me. Even though I never came to his rehearsals. But you still remember when he took his Volkswagen and put it on the sidewalk. That was something he was really mad about. But I had a good time when I was there. I liked the fact that we had quiet parties. I used to love parties. And the parties were a part of my life. And it worked out pretty good for me. Thank you.
Okay, everybody, I'm going to have to cut this a little bit short here and move on with some other things now. I talked to Debbie, and perhaps when we take our dessert break, we'll have some time for some additional stuff like this. This is all fascinating stuff. without, for those of you that decided to offer up to the group what song you sang at your senior lunch or graduation, this is top secret information now. The committee decided to randomly select one person to stand up here right now. Dave will play, and they're going to sing the song. And that person is Wayne Parker. That's just a joke. 51 years I've been waiting to get back at that guy. Now, Debbie and I were talking and thought it would be a good idea to try to get some information or details about Mr. Nitschy's life. I volunteered to do it. It wasn't the easiest thing. I'll offer up what I was able to find. Some of these things you may already be aware of. And I got some of the stuff from Ancestry.com, Abington Friends, and just this past week I had a brainstorm and thought, well, let me try the University of Pennsylvania Alumni Association, and they had more than most anybody else I contacted. At any rate, he was born September 23rd, 1902. His middle name, anybody know what it was? No. Herman. His father's name was Herman, his mother's name was Anna, and they both were born in Germany. He was one of 3 children. The oldest was a boy named Herman, oddly enough, who was 13 years older than Mr. Nitschy. The second child name was Gertrude, and I do remember him talking not very often about his sister. She was 7 years older. I was not able to find out where he went to elementary school. However, he graduated from the Wharton School on June 18th, 1924, and the University of Pennsylvania School of Arts and Sciences in 1932. He showed, the Alumni Association sent me a whole bunch of information, including a form that apparently students had to fill out with their name, birth date, address, and all this and that. And on that particular form, he shows his address as 2718 North 5th Street. But in his 1924 yearbook, he shows his address as 518 Oak Lane Avenue, which is what we know. So I conclude from that in 1924, he moved from North 5th Street up to Oak Lane Avenue on his annual salary, as he indicated on this form, of under $3,000. Yeah. He was a member of the Green Street Friends meeting until September 1975, when he transferred his membership to Abington Friends meeting. Debbie was in contact with a family member who's a member of Abington Friends, and the friend referred to Mr. Nitschy as Friend Theodore. Debbie's friend remembers Mr. Nitschy's love of playing piano music and recalls Mr. Nitschy donating a Steinway piano to Abington Friends. Everybody I was in contact with through email at Abington Friends knew Mr. Nitschy from the Friends, and they all remember him fondly. According to a newspaper article I think Debbie sent me, the first group that Mr. Nitschy organized was called the Olney High Glee Club. According to a photo that you may have seen, it was formed in 1932 and consisted of about 75 high school girls. The Olney High School a cappella choir was the first of its kind in a Philadelphia public high school, according to a 1937 newspaper article. The Olney High a cappella choir began in the spring of 1937 under the direction of Theodore H. Nitschy. The first choir was small in number, consisting of only 20 members. Their first performance was at the Heidelberg Reformed Church at Broad and Grange in the fall of 1937. It was an instant success, and following that, the choir received requests to sing at churches, hospitals, schools, banquets, clubs, all the types of places we all went to, right? At their first engagement, the choir sang, "To Thee We Sing," day of judgment, we sing thy praise. He's got the whole world in his hands. For to us a child is born, and the hallelujah chorus. And that's really all I could find, to be honest with you. Now, I have made 100 copies of this, and I'll leave it up here in the front if anybody wants to take a copy home. The Alumni Association also sent me a page out of his 1924 yearbook with his picture, which is at the top. One more thing I found that the alumni group, in amongst the stuff the alumni group sent, is this form, again, the one that I guess all students have to fill out. The form itself is just called the Wharton Record. And again, this is the form where he shows his address is 518 Oak Lane Avenue. This again is 1924. The form itself has all kinds of questions. For example, what type of work are you best fitted for in a national emergency? And his response was reconstruction. But the other thing that's interesting, and it may trigger some history about Mr. Nitschke years after 1924, there's a question here that says, are you serving the government in an advisory or other capacity with respect to national defense? And his answer was, no. I regret I cannot see my way clear to engage in military activity because of my religious beliefs.
Hey, Joe?
Yes.
My mother went to Germantown High School because Olney was not built yet. And in her 1930 Germantown High School yearbook, he is a music teacher. Oh, that's the
They probably traveled.
So he obviously was at Germantown before Olney was built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We have just a few minutes left before we move over to the sanctuary and sing. However, many of you shared some memories, moving moments and everything. I have one, and we're going to move on to the very last item. My most moving memory of my 4 years in the choir was in December of 1964 in the auditorium, standing on those very classy wooden risers. You guys remember them?
Yeah.
And we were rehearsing for the winter concert, and apparently, I don't remember the song we were rehearsing, but it was one of those songs that Mr. Nitschke referred to as trash. It was a traditional Christmas carol-y type thing that had no religious connotation or anything. At any rate, my sidekick, partner in crime, Wayne Parker, and I are standing on the top riser, and before we started rehearsing this traditional Christmas carol, we were all handed styrofoam snowballs about the size of a baseball, and somebody decided to start chucking these snowballs amongst the girls, and they would throw them back. And this went on for a while, and he finally lost it, and he threw his hands up and said, "That's it, we're done." And he walked off the stage to the first row of seats, grabbed his coat and his bag, and started heading out the door. Of course, at the same time, we're walking off the risers, and all of a sudden, he stopped dead in his tracks, turned around and hollered, "Wait, we forgot something." That was my big memory. Okay, I have one thing that I'm really hung up on. This is the last thing we're going to talk about for now, and I need some help. Yes, sir?
There's one thing that we should be acknowledging. Mr. Nitchie is the only high school teacher whose name is inscribed in the Kimmel Center. That is the esteemed. Next to the motion.
There are upstairs, before you go into the sanctuary, there are posters, and on one of those posters is the picture of Mr. Nitchie's name inscribed on the wall at the Kimmel Center. So you might want to take a look at that as you're walking in around their sanctuary. Pretty amazing. That's amazing.
Okay, in the few moments we have left, there's something I have been hung up with all these years about the choir experience. Let's be honest. To my knowledge, there have been no reunions of any of the debating clubs or the table tennis club, or not even the orchestra. My brother-in-law was in the orchestra in the same class I was in, and from the day they walked in the door in 9th grade till they graduated in 12th grade, they hardly knew each other's names and never kept in contact over the years. So my question is, and what I'm really stuck with is, what made this choir experience so special?
Friday afternoons.
It was a family. He used to preach to us on Fridays.
Yep. I was going to add, that was my next question, everybody. I remember vividly when Wayne and I got caught carrying on in 501, he would get very annoyed.
Every Friday. Stand in the corner.
True. But he would just stop the rehearsal altogether and he would start lecturing us. And the theme of the lectures always seemed to be the same. Find yourself a good mate. Raise good children. Take them to Sunday school and things like that. And I can remember clearly thinking to myself, this is really boring, but at the same time, even though I'm just a whippersnapper, I'm thinking, sometime down the road, you're going to remember this, and it's going to be important to you. And so my question is going to be to everybody, did he lecture you as well as he did the classes in the 60s? Was it all the same topic? Very special. One more.
My thing.
Yep.
We almost didn't get back there.
I'm Jackie Farrell Sutton from the class of January 1946. And my experience of high school were the war years, because I went to James Russell Lowell. I heard someone else say it.
Yeah.
And December 7th, 1941, we all know what happened then. And 3 weeks later, I was a freshman in Alvin High School. And the one thing I wanted to do was join the choir, and I was very fortunate to be able to do it in my freshman year. And what made it so special for all of us was the fact that our lives were not typical then, because the war made a difference in our high school years. And of course the war was over in 1945 and I graduated in 46. But what I wanted to impress on you was the fact that all during that, even though Mr. Nitchie and all of us hated war, but he especially, because of his religion, hated war, he had so many wonderful things to say to us, to give us courage, because we had never experienced war. We didn't know what it was about. We knew it was a hardship for us in some way, because we had shoe coupons. We could only buy 3 pairs of shoes a year. We had to have all the curtains drawn at night. We had special ed classes that we had to go to protect ourselves in case the Germans attacked the Navy Yard, which we thought they would. There were so many things that made our lives different than perhaps all of your experiences were in high school. So it was something very special about him that gave us courage to feel as though we were involved in something very important, that it was important for us to give courage to our men that were going off, our boys were going off to war. My brother was a fighter pilot and was shot down at Bougainville. And all through that time, Mr. Mitchell was very supportive of me because we didn't know for 6 months whether he was alive or not. And he did come through. He was alive, but we didn't know from October until late in the spring. And Mr. Mitchell was constantly supporting me during that time, which I really appreciate. I went on to become a music teacher. I taught for 25 years, and I've been retired now since 1983. And because I'm blessed with amazing health, I'm very active in the York area community where I live as a vocal director for the Belmont Theater. And in fact, right now we're doing a sister act in 4 weeks from today, or 4 weeks from last Friday. Yesterday we would open. So at any rate, I want you to know that I think the music that he taught us was so ingrained in me, and through my whole life, through several things that I've had to go through. Music was what sustained me, and it was from him that love of music came. And he was an amazing man, and he influenced endless numbers of people. I know, and I'm certainly one of them. And I'm so grateful to be here today through the courtesy of Mark Bernstein and Bill Vince, who brought me along. Because I would not have driven up here by myself. But it was a wonderful experience. I'm so glad to be here and to see so much spirit still after all these years of choir, seeing that still in existence. Thank you so much for all of you for being here.
As the oldest old crock in the, I'd like to make a presentation, and it's very special because it's to my first high school sweetheart. And this is, you recognize, you know what?
We know what it is.
It's a pitch pie, but Mr. Nishi gave me the day before I entered the U.S. Navy in World War II. Wow. I want to give this to my first high school sweetheart, Jackie Fromm. I'm going to pass it on because she is a wonderful musician and a wonderful person. And Jackie, thank you for being
So, Wayne West from the 66 class. Wayne is a minister, and I asked Wayne to read for us the letter that someone from Addington's friends wrote following the memorial service. I know we've seen it before. Before I turn the mic over, I want to thank Debbie for this opportunity for me to stand here. Once again, thank everybody for coming. This has been a very, very special moment for me, and special for all that.
Let's give Joe a hand. Such a natural. I really love that man. It's the letter that we all received as we came in this afternoon, entitled A Memorial Service, or a memorial service was held at Abington Meeting House, September 9, 1979 at 7 p.m. in memory of Theodore Nietzsche. The meeting house was full to overflowing. I estimated that there were more than 350, perhaps 400 there. The balcony was filled, and seats were brought in downstairs and put in the aisles, and some were standing. After a few words describing the visit for visitors what a Quaker memorial service was like, a thin, high child's voice of a guest, an 8-year-old, said that Pen Nietzsche had always been very friendly. This was followed by a prayer from a tall fellow in the balcony, who spoke well from a deeply religious feeling. Others were quick to add their contribution, but interestingly to me,
These first speakers were all on a religious theme. And then the miracle happened. Someone hummed a note and suddenly the room was filled with singing that would have made Ted proud and angels envious. Scattered through the assembled group were former members of the Olney High School a cappella choir, all students of Ted's. And the hymn rose up from their love-filled hearts in a volume and tonal quality that words cannot describe. But that will remain forever in the memory of those who were fortunate enough to be there and experience it. First, all voices were together. Then the basses seemed to be singing alone. Then the sopranos came in with a strength and beauty that I had never heard equaled. Then all together. Then again with the various parts, each talk taking the lead in turn while the others blended in, and in turn carried our souls higher and higher. I sat trembling with my eyes closed and head bowed, and the thoughts that kept flooding through me was, this is the way they must sing in heaven. There was no one directing, but the technical quality was superlative. I realized that I and others were experiencing something more than a fine choral group singing their best. For in some mystic way, there was pouring forth something intangible, but extremely beautiful from the heart of each singer. As they offered up themselves in utter love of their dear leader, who for many years had interwoven his beautiful Christian spirit with their souls. And now they were trying in every way from their hearts to say thanks, and we will always love you. There followed many more speakers, some of very different religious faiths, or none, who all paid tribute to the wonderful life that they had witnessed and to some small degree shared. The next door neighbor for 40 years told how Ted was always feeding stray cats and other good deeds. One told how Ted did not like to eat in restaurants, so they stopped in a store and bought cold cuts, made sandwiches, and ate them in the parking lot. Another told that Ted had given her 10 pounds of parsley, and after several years, she had finally finished it. Many told of how he had changed their lives for the better. Apparently, as a music teacher and director, Ted was a strict disciplinarian, straightforward in his honest criticisms, and with very high standards. But mixed with this was an always kind and loving heart. A former student gave a fine talk, saying that tears did not honor Ted, but going out and trying to live as he did would honor him. There were several speakers who asked for more music, and two more pieces were sung very beautifully. And then, as a final closing, they sang the piece which for many years had been the closing piece of their program, "The Lord Bless You and Keep You," which they had sung at the beginning of the memorial service. The other two selections were "Fairest Lord Jesus" and "Were You There When They Crucified My Lord." Coming out of the meeting house when it was over was like returning to the earth after having been in realms celestial.
Now we're going to adjourn to the sanctuary and we will sing. Just please remember there's lots of dessert here. Like I had some before or during our break. And also remember to take your plates home. Thank you all for bringing dessert. See you in the sanctuary.